expressed are not necessarily those of radio station KMET, its management, employees, or affiliates.
It's time to hit the pick. Touchdown! Sports betting, fantasy football, and the latest NFL news. Featuring Wow Desmond and Christian Giordani. Bet on us to make you a better bettor.
What?
It's time to hit the pick.
Welcome to Hit. I am Christian Giordani, your local Rams fan. Next to me, we got Scott Steen, one of our best handicappers and also our biggest Chiefs fan, probably the biggest Chiefs fan around. And Loud Esmond, one of our head handicappers as well. Fellas, how you doing on this fine Friday?
Good, man.
Good.
How about you?
Lou, I know we got a baseball pick we got to get out of the way, so let's get right to it.
Yeah, so the Colorado Rockies have 7 games remaining in this homestand. Hey, Rye Cape says hello. Yo, shout out to Rye. How you doing, man? So I don't do a lot of baseball, and when I do baseball, it's based on the weather. I know, sounds insane, but I've done very well going with totals based on the weather. On the West Coast, from Petco to what used to be the Oakland Coliseum. Of course, can't bet that anymore. And then the Giants Stadium, which is on the water, and the Seattle Mariners Stadium, which is right on the water. If you watch the weather closely, if you can catch it when it's foggy, wet, the wind is blowing in from the ocean, I love doing unders in those games. And then when the weather is hot somewhere like Kansas City, where it's an outdoor park and it's hot and humid in Kansas City or Colorado, then I tend to like overs because the ball flies and pitchers get tired faster. It's hot, it's humid, they wear out faster. So the homestand that they have, they're facing the Arizona Diamondbacks. Last night, the total that I got and called out was 11.5. They fell 1 run short, damn it, of the over. But the other thing, as I said to everybody, is keep your units small early in the homestand, because I believe as the homestand goes on, the losses will get worse, as the Rockies have the worst pitching staff in Major League Baseball, the second worst bullpen. They're facing the number 1 and number 4 RBI and home run teams in the Diamondbacks and the Dodgers. And I just think that the over is the play this whole series. Tonight, you got 2 pitchers going that really stink. I think one of their ERAs is above 6 for the Rockies. So over is the play for me in the rest of the series, unless you see it creep up to like 14. In that case, hammer the under. Scott?
Yeah, that's solid. We played that last night, and they didn't quite get there. Arizona put up a bunch of runs early, but Colorado bullpen came in.
5 runs by the second inning, and I'm like, oh, this is going over.
Yeah, and the Colorado bullpen surprisingly sucked less than usual. So
yeah,
I got 2 quickies here. If you guys are listening live and you want to jump on, I've got the Houston run line with Valdez going against Young. Young's been dreadful. Valdez is just about unbeatable at home. And I've got the Yankees at St. Louis with Gill on the mound going against Palente. Gill's just made 2 starts this season. He nursed a lat injury basically all summer. And his first start sucked. Last start was very good, including 15 swinging strikes in just 90 pitches. So he's got that fastball working again. He looks like he's going to be at the top of his game. That is the American League reigning Rookie of the Year. So I've got the Yankees at a good price there. Both of those go within 10 minutes. So chop, chop.
So I'm a little shy about preseason games now this year, because it used to be very predictable. When there were 4 preseason games, there have been for a very long time, you knew nobody was playing in the last game and nobody was playing in the first game. And they'd play a couple of series for the really important starters in the second game. And in the third game, they'd play almost the full first half. And so you could kind of be a little bit better at predicting. But now, Scott, it's all over the place. I think
it is. And you have coaches that Well, flat out lie. Andy Reid is a great
Oh, and the
example.
biggest one is your coach.
He is
Lie.
absolutely. He's a great Mormon. He doesn't drink. He doesn't smoke. He doesn't curse. All he does is lie. Because last week he said the Chiefs starters, including Mahomes and Kelsey, et cetera, were going to play the entire first quarter. They played 3 plays. Mahomes was 1 for 1 yard and a TD. So that's exactly what I said was going to happen. I said, don't believe it. Tonight, I believe him because he said none of the starters are going to play for the Chiefs. I think Seattle's still got a lot of things. They're competitive on their team. They've got to sort out. I like the Seahawks tonight big. We got it at -3 as it's up to -3.5 now, which is that's a pretty significant line move for preseason coming off of a key number like 3. So I'm still okay playing that -3.5. I think the Seahawks roll tonight over the Chiefs.
It was also just a really weird outcome because normally preseason games play to the under. Well, 5 out of the so it was a huge over. I'm looking for my notes on the overs and I'm not seeing it now because it was right in front of me, and of course now I put it somewhere else, obviously. But yeah, it was overs overwhelmingly last week. And now some of the numbers have jumped up to 42, 44, which is really high for preseason games because they're usually more like 32 to 35 is the line in preseason. So maybe the books have over adjusted because like you're looking at this game right now, you're halfway through the second quarter and it's 6-0. And both offenses look completely anemic. So I don't know if that was an aberration, but it worries me when things go completely against trend like that. And then it was all underdogs last week. It was crazy how many underdogs not only covered but won. So it's made me a little bit gun shy about preseason betting right now. But one thing that I still feel strongly about: coaches that like to win in the preseason, and crappy teams win in the preseason. So that theory, crappy teams win in the preseason, at least went 500. The Browns won outright. The Jets won outright, and they were both plus points. The Raiders tried to win outright. They had a field goal block that would have covered for them. And then the Colts and the Titans both just looked awful and lost. So it was 2 push and 2 losses. So that's where I am. But I still believe bad teams are teams that you bet in the preseason, but not this week. Because if you look at what I'm actually on, I like the Patriots -2.5 over the Vikings. I think they've seen what they need to see from J.J. McCarthy. They're not going to put him out there long. I don't think they'll have many of their starters out there long. Vrabel needs to find out a lot about his team. And my God, did they stay on the gas? What did they win? 48-16 in their first game? Something like that?
Yeah, they blasted them.
So what do you think? I think Vrabel's trying to give this team an edge. And get them used to just kicking the stuffing out of people. Your thoughts tomorrow, -2.5 at the Vikings to the Patriots?
Yeah, I think that's possible. I haven't capped that game yet. I don't know what the Vikings' plans are as far as McCarthy goes. But if it is going to be a battle of the backups,
well, it's not going to help if they lie.
No, it's not. It's not. But I think that if Vrabel really does. If they is going to be backups versus backups, I do like your theory. I do think that New England is going to be able to take care of business there against the Vikings because I think they're going to play the ones at least some of the time. So we'll see what Minnesota matches up with that. But this is a Vikings team that is extremely gun shy about getting injured. So right. I know that McCarthy needs reps. He's still a rookie. He took, he played a quarter as a rookie in his first season. So for all intents and purposes, except for being around the compound and, being in practices and things like that, he is still a rookie quarterback. So that's a tough, and that's That's kind of a fine line. It's a tough thing because you want to get your quarterback reps, you want to get him comfortable in the offense, but for God's sakes, there's no Sam Darnold on the roster this time. So if they get him hurt, they are in a world of trouble.
Yeah,
so,
I was just thinking, could you imagine if J.J. McCarthy was out there in a meaningless preseason game and tore a tendon?
Yeah,
I mean, they would just.
Minnesota will start him the beginning of this game for the first quarter.
I'm sorry?
Minnesota will start J.J. McCarthy at the beginning of this game for the first quarter.
Yeah, but is it going to be a Mahomes thing like last week where he's in for 3 plays? I just don't think they can't afford to risk him that much, Scott.
No, I wouldn't think so. And that's the thing about it is if they're going to start him, I guarantee you that they're going to start the entire offensive line as well. All those guys will be playing because like you said, Lou, they don't want to get him hurt. That is their number one goal. And sure they'll talk about, we want to do this or we want to take a look at this, but that's all bullshit. That's all BS. Because their number one job is not to get McCarthy hurt again. They cannot afford to lose him for the season. So I'm with you guys. I think if they said he's going to play, I believe he's going to play. I don't believe he's going to play the entire first quarter, especially if they get him good reps. That was the only surprise with the Chiefs last week was, the Chiefs recovered a fumble on the opening kickoff. They took the ball inside the 20 and, Mahomes was able to get there in 3 plays. I really thought there was a possibility that he may make a liar out of me and have Mahomes come out for a second series since he only got three snaps, but no, that was enough. That's all they needed to see. So,
by the way, I'm on the Falcons +3 in this game here against the Titans because I just thought the Titans looked putrid.
Yeah, I've got a good number on that. I've got 4.5, and even in my write up on my video, it was my free play, and I said, we're going to have to survive Cam Ward. We're going to have to survive the ones. And
he's out. It's 6-0. If I was live betting this, I would probably hit it up again at plus. It would probably be like +4.5 right now. Speaking of teams that don't have their quarterback situation figured out, because we just talked about a team that does. The Vikings knows it's J.J. McCarthy or bust. The Colts have no quarterback after last week. Christian, do you love the Colts quarterback situation?
It's got to be one of the most putrid quarterback rooms you have. You have Danny Jones, Danny Dimes in battle with Anthony Richardson, and Richardson missed
just one of the most obvious protection slides that he got blindsided by a free rusher that he was looking at. How do you do that?
This kid has very poor pocket presence, and it shows. But, going ahead, I don't think Anthony Richardson is going to be the starter. It might lose his job to Daniel Jones.
Well, and Daniel Jones, honestly, Scott, I thought the best-looking quarterback in that game for them was the kid from Notre Dame.
Yeah, that's like, as my son would say, that's like being the smartest horse.
Right.
Yeah, there's an old saying, and you hear it a lot in college football, not so much in the pros, but you hear it in college a lot, and it says if you have 2 quarterbacks, you have no quarterbacks. And that's exactly what the situation is with the Colts, and it may be the situation with the Browns as well. I am on that Browns game tomorrow. Loud, do you have a play on that, Christian? No. Either one of you?
No, I don't.
Yeah, I've got the Eagles laying the points. This is a Philly team that didn't play a lot of their ones on defense last week, and Burrow was able to get to him in the first quarter, but after that they allowed just 13 points when it was reserves versus reserves. They gave up nothing on the ground, 57 yards, 19 carries. And the Philly offense, I think the MVP of week 1 in preseason was Tanner McKee. He went 20 for 25, 252, and a pair of touchdown passes. And the kind of the unsung hero in that game was the running attack. They had 3 running backs that averaged over 5 yards a carry. So I think this Philly offense is going to be strong, even the reserves. And Cleveland, they've got quarterback problems. They're gonna start Dylan Gabriel. It looks like he's finally going to be over his hammy injury enough to start, and then it's going to be Tyler Huntley, who was signed less than 2 weeks ago. So I just think it's a huge mismatch, and I think the Eagles are going to roll them up in that one.
I want to go back to the Colts, and then I want to come back to the Eagles. So that what I was talking about the Colts, they are somehow 6-point favorites over the Green Bay Packers in this upcoming preseason game tomorrow. That boggles my mind. I mean, I think a high school team could beat the Colts right now.
Well, I think what they're looking at there, Loud, is the fact that, love them or hate them.
Love.
Huh?
You're not going to have Jordan Love. Right.
You're not going to have Jordan Love, and you're going to have two guys with extensive, semi-extensive NFL experience. I don't know how many starts Richardson has under his belt, 15, something like that, over 2 seasons. But
how many of them have actually been good?
No, I understand, but that's a huge thing, and that's the number one thing that most people look at when handicapping preseason games is who's going to be quarterback, who's in the rotation, et cetera, et cetera. And when you see two guys that have the potential to be number ones, there's going to be a big spread there. I'm with you though. If you've got two quarterbacks that suck, was that really helping anybody out? But there you go. There could be some value on that play.
Think Green Bay as a team is just much better. They got better talent. They're deeper. They've got better coaching. And the Colts, I mean, I don't know what there is to like about that. I know they've got a decent running back, but their quarterback situation is putrid. Their defense isn't very good. I'm not a big believer in their coach. I don't like the organization right now. So,
and you do see that a lot with good teams. They have good backups. That is true most of the time because you've got guys that are all pros that are really getting the job done, and they're not going to lose their position where some of these guys could be starting for other teams. So your Kansas Cities, your Philadelphias, your teams that are perennially very good are often good in preseason. Now it's not.
We're covering. By the way, we're covering right now in the Atlanta game. Now
they made the field goal. Okay, good.
And this wasn't a big play for me. I've just got a few bucks on it because otherwise I'd be bored out of my mind watching this game once we're done with the show tonight because I'd have no interest in it because by the time we're done with the show, we're going to be in a halftime and the backups of the backups. But, you put $20 on a game just for the hell of it, and all of a sudden it's a lot more interesting. That's why fantasy football is so genius for the NFL because it turns that Thursday night Cleveland-Carolina Panthers game into something you have to watch because you've got the Panthers starting running back.
Well, and that's actually a really good tip for bettors out there. If you want to play a little preseason football because it's on and you've missed football, we all get it. We're all playing these games, but we're playing them for a fraction of what we would normally play.
Please don't put your bankroll out.
Don't bet the house on preseason, please.
Right, and I've got one of my guys that just became a premium subscriber that's like, I know you're going to make me money this weekend. You were 5-1 in NFL last week. I'm like, dude, pump the brakes a little bit, buddy. It's still preseason, brother. So, we go out and we do the best we can with the information that we have. But sometimes preseason goes the other way. You get somebody that's going to be selling insurance in 6 weeks that fumbles, and all of a sudden the game turns, and Bob's your uncle. There you go. So,
Ravens, I think, were the team that stood out for me in preseason week 1. My God, did they look good. Their defense is hellacious. I'm not a big Lamar Jackson guy. Sorry, I'm just not. I don't think he can throw the football. I don't think he reads defenses very well. I'm not big on Lamar. I love Derrick Henry. And here's the thing. They now have a running back room that is stacked. Oh, Lord. They got that guy back from injury, and then they have another rookie, and they both looked fantastic in that preseason game. If they can keep Henry fresh, look out.
I will tell you that was my only loss. That was my only loss of the season, and I know it's allegedly a fool's errand to fade Baltimore. However, they've been 2-4 over the last 2 seasons and 0-6.
Yeah, Harbaugh suddenly changed his philosophy, right?
Right. And I'll tell you what I forgot about I forgot about stupid Keaton Mitchell. I forgot how good he was and that he was buried on that on that depth chart behind Henry and Justice Hill. So when he's playing into the third quarter, he was a man among boys in that game. He absolutely was. He dominated that. I will say though, even with as good as they looked, you take away a couple of those returns, and that's a football game.
Right.
And so it wasn't like I was a complete moron by fading the.
No. I mean, nobody
there.
would fault you for losing that game. If I lose a game because there's 2 kick return touchdowns, I'm like, okay, there's no way anybody could see that coming. So yeah, no, you're not. Nobody's losing any faith in you, Scott, over that. But they did open my eyes in terms of. But the other thing is that also could be an indictment of just how bad the Colts are.
Absolutely. It'll be interesting to see Baltimore square off this week as they go up against the Cowboys.
You got a play in that one?
I don't have a play on that one yet. I'm
leaning Ravens money line.
I don't hate it. It's 1.5. So whatever you play, you ought to be playing the money line, and which is another good piece of advice. We talked about that on our show on Wednesday.
Yeah, why don't you recash that for the new people?
Well, basically, if the line is on the if you're giving points, I wouldn't lay any more than 130, 135, something like that. But if you're getting points, if you want to back the underdog, never take 2, never take 2.5. Play the plus money line, because the vast majority of times that game is not going to fall within 3 points, even though 3 points is the number one spread. Right. But the vast majority of games are not decided by 3 points or less. So you will get burned every once in a while, and you're going to have people. It's like when you tell people don't play the penny slots. Well, my aunt's cousin hit a jackpot on one of them. Great, stop doing it. I don't care. But that's the same way. You'll have some anecdotal evidence like, well, I'm glad I had those 3 points because they only won by 2. Well, great, but think of all the profit that you've lost by not taking the money line. So never, ever, ever. If it's usually the number I use is 3. If it's 3 or less, I'm just gonna bet the dog straight up. And you're gonna get, once you get into the 2.5, 3 range, you're gonna catch good prices. You're gonna catch 125, 135, something like that. And it certainly makes sense to not play the spread when you have those small spreads like that.
So I've got a video up over at Hit the Pick YouTube page where you'll see a replay of this as well. And I went through a strategy of underdogs versus favorites in betting. Interesting thing to me is Major League Baseball, the underdogs win 44% of the time. In NHL hockey, it's 40%. The favorites in horse racing win less than 30% of the time. But in college football, the team that is favored only loses 25% of the time. And in the NFL, it's 30%. So it's tough betting underdogs in football. It's not a high percentage.
No, and that's very true. You've got to really pick your spots, and if you're looking at small spreads, then it's a good time to pounce on the underdog. And there's also an old chestnut in sports betting, and I don't know that I agree with this. I'd like to get your opinion. We talked about it the other day. You should never take a team with the points that you wouldn't bet to win outright, that you don't think has a chance to win outright. And I don't know that that's true, because you've got the Eagles versus Giants. And maybe the Giants are injured, and you got one of these 17-point spreads or something.
Let me give you a stat that completely blows that up.
All right.
I love Service Academy football. I follow them closely. Call me crazy, but I have relatives, Army, Navy, Air Force, Marines, a lot of people in my extended family in the military. And since 1995, the service academies, Army, Navy, and Air Force, are combined 41, 11, and 1 against the spread when facing opponents by 21.5 points or more. I mean, that's a monster percentage.
When they're favored or catching.
When they are catching 21.5 or more.
Yeah, I believe that. Those offenses, and they all run a little different variation of the triple option now. Air Force runs more of a veer, but they all go out of that. They all go out of the triple option setup, right? So, I can totally believe that because you don't play teams like that. Nobody plays like that. So unless they're in your conference, in your division, you're not seeing them. Like K-State is going up against Army, and the look ahead line is like 14.5. I wouldn't touch that. Absolutely no way would I touch. I
would take Army plus the points.
I think that's as long as it stays over 2 touchdowns. I think that's the play.
Yeah, because they've got a fantastic defense. They're going to shorten the game with that triple option. I don't understand this question.
This is a fantasy football question, a one-man keeper league question. Just to answer this for Shadow.
What is a one-man keeper league?
They get one guy in their fantasy league, but just to answer this,
1 minute.
Losing in 5th round. He scored 31 touchdowns in the last 2 seasons, the most efficient in the red zone. Big fantasy guy. Go on ahead. All right, guys.
Okay. Thanks for answering that question. Anything else, Scott, before we go? Oh, by the way, Broncos -6 at home with the Cardinals coming into town. Go Denver.
Yep, I got that as well. That's the other play I'm going to talk about. I've got it at 3. It's now gone down to 3.
Oh, so, then oh my God.
No starters are playing. They did a joint practice and they saw all they needed to see. So it's going to be the backups again, and the backups are very good for Denver.
And Sean Payton is a dick. So he will win that game. All right, Christian, take us out.
All right, everyone. Thank you so much. Then hit the pick. Make sure to visit hitthepick.com if you hate Sean Payton. Thank you, everyone.